Okay, this is Karlyle Tomms, starting just a slight bit early today, looking for my guest who should join me at any moment, Dr. Sean Subas, and we'll see if he's on. Let's see. Not quite yet. And as soon as I see him, I will, there he is. All right. Sent Dr. Subas an invitation, and let's see, should be on shortly.
Hello.
And there he is. Hello.
Hello there. Good to see you.
Good to see you as well. And let me kind of read your bio here and give an introduction. Dr. Sean Subas, is that the correct pronunciation?
Yes, it is. You're doing well. Okay.
Okay. Dr. Sean Subas is the founder and CEO of Oasis for Health, and that can be found at oasisforhealth.com. He is a holistic health coach with 30 years of research and personal experience in mindfulness meditation, naturopathy, Zen, Ayurveda, psychotherapy, spiritual counseling, Qigong, homeotherapy, and Western medicine. He has a Ph.D. in artificial intelligence, an MS in biophysics, and was a Fulbright scholar at Purdue University. That's quite a resume.
Thank you. Thank you. I hope I can live up to it.
So a lot of folks, I don't know if they know, I mean, I'm kind of a fan of Deepak Chopra, so that's how I know about Ayurvedic medicine.
Sure.
And I don't know how many people know about naturopathy or homeopathy, Ayurveda and those kinds of things. I probably on that list know the least about Qigong.
Okay.
And also you are a holistic health practitioner. So just to clarify for folks that holistic basically means is the whole person. It's spiritual, mental, and physical.
Exactly.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
I was born in the state of Kerala in India. But I didn't stay there long. My parents brought me over to Malaysia when I was 9 months old. I don't remember much of India from that time. I grew up mainly in Malaysia. And then, right around 20 years of age, I was fortunate to get this Fulbright scholarship and set sail for Indiana, Purdue University. And I've now spent 45 years in the USA. I had several kind of deviations on my career path. In my artificial intelligence PhD, I did apply to medical pattern recognition, and that's around when I started integrating, if you will, health and technology and science. If you're familiar with Deepak Chopra's work, of course, you're familiar with his integration of quantum mechanics and spirituality, and I have my work on that, but I don't know if it's appropriate.
And metaphysics is part of that as well, as like metaphysics and the idea that there are laws that govern the mind and the spirit, just the same as there are laws that govern the physical world.
Yes, exactly. The spiritual world has its own laws, cosmic laws of the spirit, and these are very clearly articulated and corroborated in three main works, which I will mention quickly, and we can dive deeper into them if you like, or the members will do. But let me just mention the three works. One is Dr. Michael Newton, who is a PhD clinical psychologist. who use hypnotic regression on some 7,000 case studies to dwell into the nature of the spirit world, in particular, the time spent by us souls in between our incarnations. Okay, where it's fair bit written about past lives and the actual details of one's past lives, but very little relatively has been studied about the time spent in the spirit world, where you're there in between your incarnations. And that was the major contribution that Dr. Newton made. And this was his first book, Journey of Souls, was written around 1998, I believe. He's now passed on. And he's in the spirit world, I suppose. Yeah. And then we have Dr. Weiss, who is still with us in the physical world. And Many Lives, Many Masters is the seminal work I'll refer to. And his work corroborates that of Dr. Newton's in terms of what happens in the spirit world. You know, how an individual soul, attends spirit classes, as it will, and grows as a soul in its spiritual characteristics. And then when the time is right, the elders, the council of elders, sort of gently encourage the soul to consider incarnating again, because the soul usually will have reached a point where it's just difficult to make spiritual progress just from within the spirit world. And so all of that is described in graphic detail in Michael Newton's books, and is corroborated by Dr. Weiss, who is an MD psychiatrist. So you have corroboration by two different scientists, as it were. And then the third major work that corroborates all two of them is a little older. Is by a yogi, Yogananda. Yogananda came to the U.S. around, I think, 1920. He's the first one to actually live in the U.S. and teach in the U.S. I met with, I think, one of the presidents of the U.S., I think, Coolidge. Oh, I won't guess that. He did meet with one of the presidents. And so he was one of the leaders of Vedanta in the U.S. And here, interestingly, a little side story there is when the co-founder of Apple Computers, Steve Jobs, passed away. And at his memorial, which was attended by all the luminaries, there's only one thing he left with them as a memento, just one thing that he gave them in a little black box to take away with them. I think there were probably a few thousand of them. And the only thing that was in that black box was the autobiography of a yogi by Yogananda. So you can see the profound connection there between technology and the spirit world. Yogananda, in this book, or the autobiography of a yogi, chapter 43, recounts the resurrection of Sri Yukteswar, who was on his lineage, his own guru. And how he reincarnated, he didn't reincarnate, he just appeared as a resurrection. And in this chapter 43 of this same book, he describes in vivid detail the nature of the spirit world, and in remarkably similar ways to Michael Newton and Weiss. So we have corroboration across a wide spectrum of spiritual leaders and investigators on what that spiritual world is like, and how we can benefit by getting guidance from the spirit souls, the spirit guides, who are more advanced than we are and who are there in the spirit world and available to us as guides.
So is this something that you do when in your practice as a holistic practitioner? Do you have individual clients that you then do this kind of work with?
Yes, I do this kind of work, which is really through the practice of mindfulness meditation, whether to Kundalini yoga, which uses the chakras, which you may be familiar with. The 7 chakras, the Kundalini spirit, which resides, and this is part of the incarnation process, as described in those 3 sources I mentioned, is that when you incarnate, your soul, in fact, fuses with the physical body of Homo sapiens, which is just more or less an quote animal body, at that point before that fusion takes place. And when that fusion takes place, the fusion takes place along the spine, along these vortices, these chakras, with the 6th chakra, the Ajna chakra, the 3rd eye, the pineal gland in anatomical terms, the pineal gland, yes, right in the center, yes, between the 2 eyes, the 3rd eye, becomes then the window to the spirit world and how you actually communicate. In my practice of mindfulness meditation with Kundalini yoga, and that's how I coach my clients to communicate with their spiritual guide or guides. Yeah.
So there are books that are coming to mind that, as you're talking about this, one of them is a book that I read late last year, Mind to Matter by Dawson Church. And that's a very, very interesting book that also does a comparison between scientific study and metaphysics. And then in terms of holistic health, there is an author by the name of Karlyle Tomms, and I think it's spelled M-E-I-S, and her book is Anatomy of the Spirit.
Okay.
And she was I think she was a student of Dr. Norm Shealy, and Dr. Shealy back in the 1970s did a lot of work with chronic pain and use of meditation with chronic pain, and Karlyle Tomms was one of his colleagues. So there's both Eastern and Western, there's a lot of movement in this direction of holism.
Yes, absolutely. You're right there. And I'm glad you mentioned those 2 books. I would certainly add them to my library. My own lessons in this regard of chronic pain and using meditation that I've been tutored in originated from a Western clinical psychologist, a Ph.D. psychologist, John Kabat-Zinn. John Kabat-Zinn of Boston General Hospital in the, again, I believe in the 1990s. He was a clinical psychologist at Boston General Hospital, and he, I think notably, took meditation as taught in Buddhism, Vipassana Buddhism. He actually was an ordained minister in Vipassana Buddhism, and but he brought that knowledge over to the West, Boston General Hospital practice of psychotherapy, and he then used it for stress reduction, and he created an entire line of work called mindfulness-based stress reduction, MBSR, and what is greatest to his credit is that he then conducted clinical studies on the effectiveness of MBSR and proved scientifically and clinically through the gold standard of placebo-controlled clinical studies that in fact mindfulness meditation helps substantially in diseases like depression.
Yes. Yes. And I also believe in that. That's also something that I encourage and that I teach, that when you learn how to be present,
Yes.
when you let go of the past and you stop concerning yourself with the future and you learn how to be present, then all of the things that cause anxiety and depression begin to fall away.
I think you hit the button. You hit the nail on the head there. Being present is at the core of mindfulness meditation. In fact, I think all meditation. And there are nuances to it that I bring into my practice. Just give you an example. Being present is very important, but does it mean that you are present in this current minute? Are you present in this current second? Are you in this present hour? And so those distinctions are important in making your mindfulness meditation really effective and making it part of your daily life, every moment of your life. And one little slogan we use at Oasis for Health is we start with meditating just 1 minute at a time. And that's what I teach. You can learn just 1 minute at a time. So really you don't have a reason not to learn because everyone can spare a minute in their busy lives. So you can start with 1 minute at a time, but then we show you a path to seamlessly take that to all the time. 1 minute at a time becomes all the time. And that's really where you need to be, in my opinion, to get the full benefit of meditation.
It's key. Life becomes meditation.
Yes. Every moment you're centered. Every moment. That way, you don't get shaken when the inevitable storms occur in physical world. The physical world has its physical world phenomena, which can be stormy, and yet if you are centered and grounded all the time, you have equanimity at all times.
That's for most people, when to think about being centered and grounded all the time, that seems like a big challenge for most people, because our minds do go back.
Yes.
And our minds do contemplate, what am I going to have for dinner?
Right.
And they do these things. And so that whole idea of being mindful in every moment,
Yes.
I'm sure for probably most people seems like quite an undertaking.
Yeah, I know. That sounds like nirvana. And it is. It is nirvana.
Yeah.
Yes. But that's a goal. That for most of us, that's a goal. And knowing what our goal is helps us get there. So you don't know where you're going, you're not going to get there most likely, right?
Right.
Yes.
I don't know if you're aware of A Course in Miracles, or have you ever heard of that book?
Yeah, I'm somewhat.
One of the things that you're talking about here, one of the things it says in the Course in Miracles is that now is the closest approximation we have to eternity.
Yes.
So what you're saying is nirvana, or eternity.
Yeah.
That being is what we're looking at, and reaching that point of simply being.
Yes, and there's a lot of truth to that. I would add some nuances from my own practice. That let me start by where you alluded to the fact that this is sounds like a difficult goal, but let me assure you and your audience that it is not as difficult as it may sound, because we look at the starting point, which is to meditate just 1 minute at a time. That's really easy. In fact, if you will indulge, maybe we'll take a minute somewhere during this time we have together, and I'll just put on the timer and I'll do a 1 minute guided meditation. So for everyone who's on the call, yeah. So it's really very easy, and it's just 1 minute, and you we will just share maybe our experiences of that 1 minute once it's done. But really, it's not difficult for most people. So you start with 1 minute at a time, and then we have techniques for helping you come back to it throughout the day. So, you remind yourself throughout the day, how various techniques for reminding yourself throughout the day. Very natural techniques, for example, like when you're going to have a meal, so that's like, begin with, you only have 3 meals or so a day. Every time you start a meal, you just go into a 1 minute meditation. That's not too painful. You go from 1 minute to 3 minutes a day. So as you begin to do these things, the next thing I would encourage you to do is, the moment you feel any kind of stress coming on, whether your boss is beginning to yell at you or anything like that, you just slip into that, that 1 minute of meditation. You're still listening to your boss, you're still watching him, but inside you are in this center. You're just calm. You're just letting that wash over you. You're hearing what he's saying, and you're saying, bless you, I know you're angry, but this is why I did what I did. And when he gives you a chance to explain that, you do that very calmly. Sorry, boss, but this is where I was. This is where I felt, and I in good faith, I did what I did. So I apologize. I want to learn to do better. And believe me, you'll get a much better reception than, if you just react, and get, all very defensive and angry yourself.
Well, and from a metaphysical Christian point of view, that would be that I behold Christ in you.
Yes. And Christianity, has some really good lessons, and the teachings of Christ are really very profound. To be like reborn in Christ. That is very, very profound. Can you believe that? You become Christ-like. I mean, that means you turn the other cheek. How many of us can do that? So it's extremely profound statement, that to become Christ-like and to become reborn in Christ. And one of my colleagues in Oasis for Health is a minister in a church. So evangelical. So, I'm very comfortable with evangelicals and their faith. And I am, part of what I've integrated, I mentioned the 3 works of the people, of the, some of the seminal works. I mentioned 3 of them. But I also have integrated into my practice the teachings of the major religious masters. We just talked about Jesus. I have also incorporated the teachings of Lao Tzu, the Tao Te Ching, Zen, and of course Buddha, and to some extent Muhammad, and the Sufi Islam.
Truth is truth wherever you find it.
Yes. So I found a lot of value in. And again, using these meditation techniques, you really can stay true to the best of all the teachings. And you can validate it with your own experience of those teachings in your own meditation. So you don't really have to, and this is why I say this process is semi-scientific, because science ultimately is all about experiencing the predictions of any theory, scientific theory. You know, you have to measure it, right? So that physics, you know, theory doesn't mean anything until you measure it and confirm. So, and in this spiritual teaching, the way you measure it is by going into meditation and experiencing it. So then you have measured it. So if you measured it, then it's true for you, scientifically.
Yeah. Yes, science is the validation.
Yeah. So, so anyway, that has been very profound for me and some of those who work with me, and so I would love to share it with anyone in your audience. We do have very easy ways to get started. On the website, you know, you can send me a question, just any question from the customer support page. You know, just send me a message. And we do also offer an initial health counseling session. That'll be tailored to whatever is important to you, and you can express what that is when you sign up. Also, there's a sign up page where you can sign up for the free. It's a free 30-minute initial session. So then you get some sort of introduction to mindfulness meditation and Kundalini yoga and how it's put together. But if you so choose, you can naturopathy or Ayurveda or any of the other natural healing modalities that you may have a predilection for. And then after that, you can decide for yourself whether to seek another practitioner in one of those areas or many of those areas. But I think you'll be better prepared to ask the right questions as you interview them. Or you can continue with us, and we make ourselves very affordable. We have sliding scale process for fees. So I welcome each one of you. Okay.
So just go to the website and fill out a question.
Yeah, it's just for the if you just want to just do a free form question, tell me more about the sixth chakra. Okay, you just type that into your message for in the customer support questionnaire. That's all you need to do. You need to understand it's very easy. It's not a long questionnaire. So it's really easy to do that. Now, if you want to sign up for the 30-minute free session, it's a little bit more. You go into our catalog and you click on a free session, and then you enter, just a few little details about yourself, I think just like your, age and, height and weight and so on, simple things that we need to calculate your body mass index with. And then, and then just a free form area for you to say, this is my particular interest. That's all. That's just the initial thing. And then during the 30-minute intake and session, I have a very sort of interactive intake process. So I'll ask you not my whole intake questionnaire, but just those portions that are relevant to that particular session. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, and it doesn't matter in terms of a person's spiritual background, their culture, their training. That what I'm hearing is that you kind of orient things to the individual and their own particular connection. And one of the things that I've said before is that God speaks many languages, and He's going to speak the language that you are going to hear.
Yes.
And so if that language is Buddhism, that language is Buddhism. It's Christianity, it's Christianity, et cetera, et cetera.
Yes. And you're on point. You're on point. Let me put it even more graphically. It's like I'd say, when we do the meditation technique and we coach you in that, the primary chakra is the third eye, like you talked about, and one of the more advanced, not the first 1 minute meditation, but as you go deeper into the teaching and the coaching, we do visualizations for each one of the 7 chakras. So as you're meditating and you're following your breath through the chakras, you have different colors associated with each one of the chakras. So that's a visualization process that deepens your experience, right? So then you also can have images with the different chakras, okay? And you can also have sounds, like different mantras for different chakras, like Om. Om is the mantra chakra sound for the third eye, the 6th chakra. And Om has been demonstrated and corroborated to be a kind of a universal sound, a primordial sound, spiritual sound, Om. And very interestingly, by Ibn Alexander, the neurologist in Proof of Heaven, in his book, Near-Death Experience. Ibn Alexander is a bestseller, Proof of Heaven. Anyway, yes, he went in there as a total skeptic. He had a near-death experience, total skeptic, no religion, no knowledge, especially no knowledge of Hinduism. And he went in there and he had this whole several, I think, days worth that he was in a coma for several days, if I'm not mistaken. But please look up his his book on Amazon. It's Proof of Heaven. You see it from the reviews, and even if you don't get the book. And he has websites and so on. So, but he describes his experience over the 7 days, and that he was in a coma, and he's a neurologist. He knows what a coma is. He's very credible when he talks about that he was in a coma. And he talks about his interactions with the angels and indirectly with God. And the one thing that he says that, in addition to the messages he received, which I, of course don't have time to go into, but he said the one sound that he kept hearing all the time that he was in, quote, heaven, was the sound Om, Om, just that. And that's the sound I use for the 6th chakra in my meditation technique.
And there's like 3 sections of that sound. And by the way, one of our listeners here, Rhiannon Reed, commented that's a very good book.
Ah, okay. So he knows the book. Okay, yes.
Familiar with, yeah.
Yes. But
a lot of the books that you've mentioned are books that I've heard of, that I know about, but I haven't gotten around to reading.
Okay. Well, because we all have many calls on our time. Let me just recommend one book. If there's only one book that you're going to read Journey of Souls by Michael Newton, written around 1997, still selling very well on Amazon. So if you look up Journey of Souls on Amazon, I think you'll see several thousand book reviews. So even if you don't get
someone just now, Dr. Morgan Oakes stated totally excellent book.
Yes. It's a life transforming book. It's 7,000 case studies, all summarized neatly for you, and he summarizes it starting with the least advanced soul to the most advanced soul. And guess what? He doesn't know anything. Michael Newton was a total skeptic. And even to the end, he did get into deep meditation, but even then, he had not quite understood why the chakras and because the most advanced souls talked about the color violet and purple, and one of my blog topics is 100 shades of purple. That's I have a link to that. and the color purple is the color of the third eye chakra, the 6th chakra. But he was asking, during this, he had put this his advanced soul into a hypnotic trance, and he was questioning experience of the soul in the interlife, and the soul was saying, "Oh, I keep." He's being taught by these super advanced souls in the spirit world, and they all associated with this purple color, dark, purple color. And Dr. Newton says, no, I don't know. I don't understand. I don't put, this enlightenment with dark colors. I put it with light colors. But, the advanced souls, yeah, that's how I tell you what I experienced. But of course, for me, that sort of sinks in very clearly, because in all the spiritual literature I've read, the color purple is it's very spiritual. So yeah.
Well, and the chakras, as I understand, follow the colors of the rainbow. Root chakra is red. Then there's red, orange, yellow.
Yes.
Green is heart chakra. Blue is the third chakra. Purple.
Yes.
Okay.
White.
And then
white is white is the crown chakra. At the top.
Yes.
Yes. So yeah. So it's very interesting how these advanced souls, that it's a corroboration. When I see this, I approach it from my scientific training in artificial intelligence and robotics, and also quantum mechanics and physics, and it all segues very nicely. It's almost like you can look at the supreme force. You call it Council of Elders or God. The supreme force. Creating these souls, and it's kind of what we call stochastic modeling in science. But you can think God is like, it is in the same way that as a robotics engineer, I would create a robot, an advanced robot, and make it and give it free will. How do I give it free will? How does IBM give Deep Blue the ability to defeat Kasparov, the many-time global chess champion? It has to give it an element of free will, so it can go beyond the free will of the creator, the programmers. You see?
It must be able to choose.
Yes, freely, without guidance, with the ability to disregard the guidance of the creator. And that's real.
One of the things that I teach people in that I work with is there's only one human power, and we all share that exact same human power equally. No one has any greater power than this. No one has any lesser power than this. And that is the power to choose what I will think, say, or do in this moment, and this moment only.
Right.
I cannot choose the past. I cannot choose the future until it gets here. I can only choose now. And when we understand that that is our power, then other things that we devote our energy to become less important. And we begin to focus our energy on what we can control versus what we can. And that's also in the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. The serenity prayer of accept what I can't change and change what I can. What I can change is my choice.
Yes, a serenity prayer is extremely powerful in spirituality. And, I congratulate you having passed the Alcoholic Anonymous course some time ago, I think. Yeah. Thank God for that. And let me concur with you on the whole concept of acting in the now. That's really, and you're acting now, and that's free will. You use your free will to act now, and in very deep in spirituality, in one of the deepest teachings is in the Gita, the Bhagavad Gita of in Hinduism, where Lord Krishna says, "You do not have the right to the fruit of your action. Outcomes are not in your control," which is essentially what you said. The outcome of your action is not in your control at all. But your action is. And it is your duty to take the right action. The right action. That's your free will. That's what your only control is. But if you do that right, then you're doing right by God.
Hmm?
And no matter what the outcome is. See,
Yes.
because as another Swami put it, the outcome is based not just on your action. You might take the right action, but the outcome is based on the actions of all these billions and maybe trillions of souls in the cosmos, and of God herself, if I may say. So God has free will too. So the actual outcome is based on the free will of all those people in merging in a way that we cannot even conceive of.
Yes.
And so
and there is no moment in time in which we do not change the world.
Yeah. In our own little way, if I may say so. I mean, I look at it in a, probably because of my scientific training, try and this helps me a lot, is makes me really humble, is to say, okay, I focus on taking the right action, and there'll be an outcome, and it will impact, like you're saying, we influence the outcomes, but we only influence them, at least for me, I say, just poetically, so, that I have like a 1% influence, 99% is God. Okay, so that I'm not surprised when things happen differently from what I planned to happen. I did my 1%, and I still need to keep on doing that 1% every step of the way. But I'm not discouraged if the outcome is different from what I planned for.
Yes, because the outcome is not in your control.
Exactly.
Exactly. Only the choice.
So,
what I think about this, and I think about my own journey and coming to these awarenesses and understanding, is that so much of my life I just did not get it, and I beat my head against the wall. I experienced depression, frustration, anxiety, and all those things, and just did not get it. And when one becomes aware, one also becomes aware of how incredibly simple truth is. Truth is so simple.
yeah, just let me endorse that wholeheartedly. And truth is so absolute. So, when you're at the purest levels, and in this chapter that I mentioned of Yogananda's, his guru, who's already in the spirit world, and he says he's at the highest level of the spirit world, just prior to actually being in the same level as God, as the Council of Elders, but he's still at this, what he calls the causal plane. The causal plane is higher than the astral plane, and he's at the causal plane, and still, he has various duties. It's still not quite at the ultimate. But he says the one thing those souls at this extremely high level of the spiritual world, what disturbs them still the most is when they observe deviations in the truth anywhere in the cosmos. That disturbs them.
So, and tell me what you mean by deviations in the truth, because my concept is truth, and the truth is irrefutable, and it cannot deviate.
The deviation, you see, this is they are, in my opinion, that we as souls, we first of all, there is a kind of a pure soul, the inner soul, as it were, and then there is an encrustation on the souls because of the way that souls are created, and this again is sort of corroborated by these works that I mentioned earlier. The souls have characteristics which are impure when they're created. It's the nature of creation, nature of a, if you look at, you can look at the parallel to the physical world. Almost every act of creation has imperfections, right? Whether it's a work of art, whether it's an actual, an animal, a bird, everything has imperfections. So it's easy for me to extrapolate and say that when souls are created in the spiritual world, it also created with imperfections. And that is why you have reincarnation. If it was pearls created perfect, there's no need to go through the karmic cycle to perfect it. You see?
Try again. Yes.
Yeah. You're given many opportunities to perfect your soul, and so that's the karmic cycle. That's karma. Just learning the lessons, and so that's the deviations of truth occur. Mainly, you could consider at the lower levels of the cosmic world, cosmos, where your physical world is one of the lower levels, and you're in the physical world. You can have a lot of deviations from the truth, right? We're experiencing that even as we live our lives these days, right? A lot of deviations from.
Do you mean deviations or distortions of the truth, where people they bend the truth, they don't quite tell the truth, or belief systems get imposed over the truth? That ultimately all conflict is conflict of belief. The truth merely waits to be discovered.
Right. Yeah. I mean, this is that's why it's kind of, I see it as layers. That the absolute truth is so deep, and that probably no one human soul has experienced it in the physical form.
Right.
As I was saying, even this advanced soul at the causal plane was still not quite there yet, and so yeah, I mean, we can say the absolute truth will have no deviations, but it's kind of academic because we don't know what that is, and we cannot experience it in the physical world. What we know, you can believe in it as a goal, like one of those things, like nirvana as a goal, like I mentioned at the beginning. That yes, at nirvana you would be at the absolute truth. But it's a goal. So deviations from the truth, discrepancies, whatever you choose to call it, they occur because none of us really is completely immersed in the truth. If we were, then we'd all be fine. There would be peace. There would be peace on earth.
Everybody would be in nirvana.
Yeah, there would be nirvana on earth.
Problem solved.
Yes, but these deviations exist because we are imperfect souls at this moment. At this moment, we are in a physical body, which makes it even more imperfect. So an imperfect soul in an imperfect body means we are actually pretty far from the truth, absolute truth, in terms, and we act. That's why our actions, at least for most of us, I mean, we have to confess. I would admit to in an instant, my actions are not perfect. Even as I try, even if I stay within the guidance, I'm listening avidly to the guidance from above in my meditations. But I must say that I still the message. I'm not perfect. My actions are not perfect. In alignment with my guidance, because I have, imperfections. I do not translate the guidance into into action in a perfect way. So that's what I mean.
Well, yeah. And I think one of the signs of true humility is that recognition of being imperfect, and that I always have something to learn.
Exactly.
The day I no longer have anything to learn is the day they close the lid on the coffin. And maybe then learning in the other world.
Then you learn.
But as long as you're alive, that humility says, I am open. And where was the line that he who says that he knows nothing?
Yes.
He who knows that he knows nothing knows all.
Confucius. I think it's a paraphrase of a Confucius saying. Yeah. Yes. So yeah, I know that I agree. So we have to continue learning. I don't know if this is a good time. I know we're just getting to about 15 minutes or so from our closing, right? So maybe we could take a minute to do that mindfulness meditation.
1 minute meditation, sure,
Yeah, 1 minute meditation.
sure.
So,
Mm-hmm.
a few simple guidelines. We are going to. This is a fairly standard technique in all meditation. Actually, we will on the intake breaths. We'll start with the intake. As we take our breaths in, then we'll follow that breath. Right, follow it through. From as you breathe in breathe into the up into the third eye. Okay, and into the crown, and then follow your breathing in, and then you keep on breathing in, and then take it down through the throat chakra, heart chakra, stomach chakra, abdominal chakra, and the root chakra. Okay, you're just breathing in that flow. Okay, so when I start the timer here, you ask you to start, and then you will just breathe in along that path. And then as you reach that root chakra, you'll just pause for a couple of seconds, feel the root chakra, the breaths in the root chakra, and then start breathing out again, just reversing that same path. Okay? And I will be speaking, so I will not be doing good meditation because I'll be talking you through it. So we'll just keep on repeating that until the minute is over. Yeah? You game for that? Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
We will start when I say start. Okay, start. Breathing in. Down into the root chakra. Feeling it there. Breathing out. Coming up through the different chakras. All the way out. Breathing in. Passing all the chakras. Down into the root chakra. Pausing. Breathing out. All the way out. In. All the way into the root now. Be at the root. Pausing. Breathing out. Okay, you're done. Okay, so that's a very simple, basic 1 minute meditation, and you can do this anywhere. You can start with being in a quiet place in this kind of standard lotus position, if you like. But you don't really have to be. You can be sitting, you can be standing, you can be walking, and after you've done it a few times in the kind of sitting position, and used to it and so on, you just practice doing it when you're walking, running, and ultimately, even when you are arguing with someone, in that kind of mode, if someone is yelling at you.
Just breathe and let them yell.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. So, and this continues, and as you go on and on, it progresses to a point that even like when you're talking and it's just going on in the background. this flow of through the chakras, so that keeps you centered, and then you are at peace in the midst of the storm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes. And that's such a simple meditation. And I think probably the simpler it is for most people at the beginning, especially,
Right.
then
Right.
more likely to begin incorporating that. One of the things that I tell people is the concept of mental hygiene.
Okay.
You bathe your body in soap and water every day. Bathe your mind in alpha brain waves every day.
Yeah.
Take time out every day to center yourself and relax and do a meditation so that you're bathing your mind and your spirit in meditation, just like you bathe your body in soap and water.
Right, right. Exactly. And I should say that it's we're all different. That's nothing more profound than that. It's just that each individual soul is so very different. Each individual human being is so very different. So, what some of the things that we have mentioned, you and I, is true to us. The two of us are talking, and but people in the audience, people who may be listening to this later on, once you have it, up
On IGTV.
IGTV. So everyone's going to be listening to this is going to be a different soul, and they have to find their own path which is comfortable to them, at individual way of practicing meditation. And some will find it easier to just sit for 5 minutes, to be in 5 and increase it to 10 minutes. This more of the sitting meditation. There are two poles to meditation. I don't know if it might interest you and your audience especially. The two ends, the two poles, as it were, up to meditation practice. One is the pure kind of a sitting meditation with a yogic meditation, right? We are physically completely still, and for the period of that meditation. And you can start with whatever, minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, then keep extending that, and that's perfectly a good way to go. The one that I practice is on the other end of the spectrum, where it is this mindfulness meditation, which is more about being in a meditative mode through all of your life, in all of your life activity. So even as I'm speaking to you, I am staying centered best I can, and so that keeps me from being agitated, even if I was talking to someone much less calm than you are. So that is mindfulness meditation, and so that can be can be practiced a minute at a time, 2 minutes at a time, whenever, wherever. So John Kabat-Zinn, as I mentioned earlier, he's written, his seminal book is "Wherever You Go, There You Are."
Yes. Yeah. Before we're almost to the end, I want to thank you, first of all, Dr. Subas. It's been a wonderful discussion, and thank you for being here with us today. And I just want to go over again, Dr. Son Subas is founder and CEO of the Oasis for Health, and that's oasisforhealth.com. He is a holistic health coach with 30 years of research, personal experience in mindfulness, meditation, naturopathy, Zen, Ayurveda, psychotherapy, spiritual counseling, Qigong, homeotherapy, and Western medicine. He's a Ph.D. in artificial intelligence, has an MS in biophysics, and was a Fulbright scholar at Purdue University. And thank you so much
Thank you
for being with us today. All right.
Take care.
Bye-bye now.